I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. Fire in the veins, I fight to gain, breaking all the rules to keep me sane. Living the moment till I die. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. No matter how hard we try.
Welcome to 4th and 10U, the home of college football for everyone. Whether you're a die-hard fan who lives for Saturdays or just getting into the game, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and join the team. This is 4th and 10U, where every play is a chance to make history.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a brand new episode of 4th and 10U. And can you hear that, Mike? Can you hear it? What time is it?
Yeah. It's hammer time.
That's right. It is hammer time, ladies and gentlemen. That is right. Not the MC Hammer, but the Hammer, right? Today's episode is going to be a good and juicy one. We're going to go down a little bit of a path, go through a little bit of a timeline of events, and discuss what is happening over there in that blue team up north, University of Michigan. We're going to talk about what has transpired, what has gone down, and why it's important. Why do we need to talk about it? What's at stake? That's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get started, as we always say, make sure you hit like, subscribe if you're new, turn on the notification bell. Do us a favor. Tell your friends, then tell your friends' wives, tell your kids, then tell your kids' wives, tell your family members, tell everybody. 4th and 10U, please come join the channel, right? Follow us on Twitter at 4th and 10U. You can now follow us where, Mike?
Spotify.
That is right. Spotify. You can listen to us live on Spotify. Actually, not live, but you can listen to all of our episodes there on Spotify. If that's your thing. You can also coming soon, you'll be able to find us on Facebook as well. So that's coming soon. I'll talk to you in the back, Mike. I've been thinking about that. But how's it going, man? How's everything been?
Well, it's good, dude. I got some good Wi-Fi, so you can see my pretty face today.
Yes. And before I tell you, everyone knows, no, ladies, Mike is not single. I've had people message me asking. No, he's not. But he appreciates the comments. That being said, no, Carla, I'm not talking about you either. Let's get started. It's going to be a hell of a show. We got a juicy one. It's some crazy stuff going on. What are you drinking tonight? Just curious. What is this?
Let's see. It's that Apothic Red. It's a red blend. It's nice and fruity.
All right, I gotta get my wine game on. My wife loves Moscata wine, but it's more of like on a sweeter end. I'm kind of like I like the in between. I don't want it to be super sweet, but I don't want it to be bitter at the same time. I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, should
So
probably stick with a Pinot Grigio, or it's gonna be a little bit more dry, but it'll have a little bit of sweeter to it. Or
that's, that's what my
get
wife said.
yourself a yeah, get your or you can go with a red blend. The red blends are good once you get it took me a little bit to get used to the notes that are in the wine, but if you get a good red blend, it's gonna have a little bit more of a fruity, but it's gonna finish dry.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if I like it fruity, but I definitely I can deal with the dry. Just kidding, just kidding. Let's get this party started. We know we start every
Hey, don't
episode.
be
Go ahead.
lying. We know you're a fruitcake. It's fine.
Oh man, the trolling has already started. Let's go. Make sure you hit the like button. This is the only place where I have my own show and I get trolled myself. Anyway, let's get it started. Everybody knows we start every episode. Does the cleat fit? And today, as we've been doing all month of May, talking about mental health, today's foundation that we're going to be shouting out is called the JED Foundation. The JED Foundation is a nonprofit that protects emotional health and prevents suicide for our nation's teens and young adults, giving them the skills and support they need to thrive today and tomorrow. JED empowers teens and young adults by building resiliency and life skills, promoting social connections, and encouraging help seeking and help giving behaviors through our nationally recognized programs, digital channels, and partnerships, as well as through the media. JED strengthens schools by working directly with high schools, colleges, and universities, representing millions of students to put systems, programs, and policies in place to create a culture of caring that protects students' mental health, building life skills, and making it more likely that struggling students will seek help and be recognized, connected to care, and supported. We mobilize communities by providing education, training, and tools, families, friends, media, and others. If you want to know more about the JED Foundation, maybe you want to get involved, maybe you want to find out what resources they have, want to help something, check out jedfoundation.org. Again, jedfoundation.org. Again, we're continuing the month of mental health awareness. Yeah, this is a really good one. What do you think, Mike?
I get, dude. I the youth is important, and so having a foundation that can just bridge the gap for them, give them a safe place, and yeah, because they're the future of tomorrow. So we've got to make sure we take care of them. And there's so many people. I've got close to home. I've got two family members from my dad's second marriage that committed suicide because of mental health issues, and so it's a good foundation. Definitely hits home.
Definitely. I agree too. I have I have a teenager. She's 17 going on 42, I feel like. And she's my rock, man. And without her, there's no tomorrow. And we gotta keep our awareness up. Mental health affects everybody differently. Not everybody's the same. There's some people, it could be as easy as maybe they look tired, or maybe they're really hungry for something. You know what I mean? There's different symptoms. Not everybody's the same. And that's something to really remember, because you never know when somebody just needs someone to lean on or someone to talk to. And sometimes you don't even have to do anything really to help. You can just sit back and just be a good listener. That's a good way to help people that may not have the best mental health. I've sitting here talking to you guys and being in different spaces on Twitter. I think it's a stress relief, and I really think it goes a long way just being a listener, to be honest. So that's my thoughts on it. But the show must go on the road, and we really got to talk about this. And I know I've put this off a long time, right? I keep saying we're going to have this dedicated episode that's going to be talking about that team up north. And today we're going to have that episode. Now I need to put some, what do you want to call it, Mike? Some house
Disclaimer.
rules, disclaimers. What I'm going to be talking about is specifically factual that's been reported in the media. I am not going to talk about things that are hearsay or have an opinion. Well, I take that back. There will be an opinion about the effects of what's going on and if it's right or not in that aspect. But I'm not going to sit here and rah, rah, rah because my team is being affected by this person or this group harshly. I might talk about what the effects are and how it affected the team, but I'm not going to sit here crying about it. I'm going to try to be as objective as possible. Okay.
Keyword is try. Keyword is try.
I'm going to try. I'm going to try. If you noticed, I'm not wearing any paraphernalia for my team whatsoever. That's the start of me trying. Okay. There's nothing in the background either. If you noticed that, I want to try to keep this objective and have a good conversation about it. But with that being said, the hammer is coming, right? That's the name of this episode. And we're going to be talking about it. So if you're probably wondering why we're talking about University of Michigan and if the hammer is coming, why we're talking about it. Actually, let me get to my correct screen here. So just bear with me one second. Well, the University of Michigan sign stealing scandal is coming to a full front now. That's why we're talking about it. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about the sign stealing scandal, what happened, who, what, where, and when, and go down a timeline of what actually transpired. So if you probably didn't know about their sign stealing scandal, if let's say you're under a rock or hiding or whatever, maybe you're Aaron Rodgers and you've locked yourself in a dark cave for 90 days, trying to think about if you're going to sign with the Steelers or not. This is some information you probably were not aware of. Connor Stalions, a former recruiting analyst for Michigan, was accused of orchestrating an elaborate scheme to steal opponents' play calling signals. Over a span of 3 years, he allegedly purchased tickets to more than 30 games across 11 Big Ten stadiums and additional college football playoff contenders. Stalions reportedly dispatched individuals to these games to record sideline signals, a practice that violates the NCAA bylaw 11.6.1, which prohibits in-person scouting of future opponents in the same season. Now, that's the gist of what the sign stealing scandal was. But what I'm going to take you through is some of the allegations, what has been reported in the media, among other things, and the timeline of events that has led to where we are today. Okay. So that being said, let's talk about the beginning of the end. The path to the hammer. On October 17th, an external investigative firm presents evidence to the NCAA prompting an investigation into Michigan alleged sign stealing activities. On October 20th, Connor Stalions is suspended with pay pending the outcome of the NCAA investigation. October 24th, reports surfaced that Stalions purchased tickets to over 30 games at 11 Big Ten schools over 3 years, allegedly to record sideline signals. So basically, he's sending people to these various games in the same season, future opponents, and recording the sideline signals to decipher what the calls are going to be, right? Now, we've seen this happen before. I know And remind me, Mike, if the Patriots, I think, got hit with this for trying to record practice or something. This is actual games in games
Yep.
that they're paying for tickets to go to these games, right? That's basically what's happened here, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, and this is just, they're saying over 30 games, right? Now, what has been said in said reports that both Yahoo News and Fox Sports and a lot of these other major media outlets have reported that documentation shows that the allegations are way beyond 30 games. We're talking about there's like over 80 different what do they call it, violations that are being made. Now, I know there's been certain reports that Stallions has said, "Oh, I bought tickets for my family members to go to the games," but there's been a lot of uncovered evidence that may suggest that it was beyond family members. It was orchestrated and paid for ultimately by the University of Michigan. Now, on November 3rd, Stallions resigns from his position at Michigan, stating that neither head coach Jim Harbaugh nor others were aware of his actions. The NCAA on November 6th reports finding no direct connection between Harbaugh and the illegal sign stealing activities. Now, I want to stop it right there just to talk about this for a moment. Mike, you're a head coach of a very large program, a infamous head coach that is a legend in the NFL, had a legendary career, and you're telling me you're in charge of one of the largest programs in the country, and you don't have any idea this is going on? Does
Yeah,
that make
I
sense?
just found that hard. I found it hard to believe, to be honest. I think that it's a bunch of BS. But I think either he was trying to cover his tracks, or, I mean, who knows? Maybe the university was doing it behind his back. But the thing is it would have to be an extreme cover up. And for him being as polished as he is and as seasoned as he is, if say he didn't know about it, and then his coaches had the perfect game plan, and then his defensive coordinators knew what was coming, or the offensive coordinators knew what was coming, I just find it hard to believe that he had no idea.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And let's go a little bit further and just see what happens afterwards. On November 10th, the Big Ten Conference suspends Harbaugh for the final 3 games of the season. So if he had nothing to do with it, why did they suspend him? That's number one. Number two, Harbaugh accepts the suspension, and the Big Ten concludes its role in the investigation. That was on November 16th. On November 17th, linebackers coach Chris Partridge is fired for allegedly instructing players on how to respond to questions related to the sign stealing scheme. So he went ahead and told players how to respond to let it be media or people asking questions. You don't coach somebody on how to answer questions if there was nothing being done that was wrong, right?
Agreed. I tell you what, with the NCAA concluding its investigation so quickly, makes me wonder if they're worried about the aftermath and not wanting to deal with what was coming, the punishment, and having to finally stand up and have a backbone after 20 something years.
I know it's kind of crazy, but let's continue here. So December 2023, January of 2024, right? The season conclusion. Despite the scandal, Michigan completes a 15-0 season, winning the national championship by defeating Washington 34-13. What happens right after that game? Harbaugh departs Michigan to become the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. This is during the time where rumors were coming that an additional suspension was going to be provided to Harbaugh. And actually, there was even show causes being reported that anyone that was involved in this orchestra of sign stealing could be suspended or banned from coaching in college football. So right when Harbaugh leaves to the Chargers, what does he do? He takes more than half of his staff with him. Everybody he could to take with him, he took with him to the Chargers, right? Now let's think about that for a moment. I'm a head coach, right? Major organization, under scrutiny, possibly bans are coming. I leave town, get out of town as quickly as possible, and go straight to the Chargers, right? I'm the assistant head coach, or I'm the offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, or whatever position coaches I am, or whatever. If I really feel I did nothing wrong and there was nothing that I was going to get hit with, why did I run to go work with Jim? Right? Why did I
especially
go to
after
the
15 and
Chargers?
especially after a 15-0 season,
Exactly.
winning the national championship like they did and everything. Like, you don't want to leave. That's not the time to leave. That's the time to stay and try to do it again. Run it back.
100%. I agree with that. August of 2024, NCAA notice of allegation gets sent to them. Michigan receives a notice of allegations from the NCAA citing 11 violations, including 6 level 1 infractions, the most severe. The level 1s are the most severe. So there's some, and it's a lot more elaborate than just that. The allegations include claims that Stallions provided a Michigan player with a sheet of opponent play calls, right? There's allegations also included for some stuff we're going to get into here next. But before we go into that, August 27th of 2024, Netflix documentary gets released. Untold Sign Stealer is the name of the documentary, featuring Stallion's discussions, his perspective on the events that in the documentary, he claims the sign stealing is a common practice and that he exploited rather than broke the rules. Let's talk about that for a moment, Mike. I do agree sign stealing can happen, right?
In a
It's very,
game. In a
very easy.
game.
In a game, it can happen, right?
Yeah.
It can happen, maybe watching film at home, right? Film that you're allowed to have and you can watch. You might be able to figure things out there. But when you're purposefully paying for people to go to games and have them record and report information to you in advance, that's kind of messed up in a sense, right? You're taking the fun out of the game. And I feel like I understand what he did, but just because you exploited other people's bad doings doesn't make it a right, if you understand what I'm saying. Right?
Well,
What you
not just
did
that.
doesn't. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying, not just that. It's just like, it's straight up cheating. Like, there's cheating in almost every sport that's accepted. Hell, you steal bases in baseball, but and you if the pitcher's tipping his pitches, you tell everybody in the dugout that he's tipping his pitches. If an NFL team or a college football team is running the same plays, and you catch wind, maybe you got a quick eye and you catch wind of the play calls, you steal them during the game. Watching film, the thing with that is, like, most universities are going to change up their play calls for each game. I mean, they're not going to call the same plays every time, especially if it's uh, if it's something that they feel like they're playing, they're showing their hand per se. But this is straight up cheating. This is straight up, hey, we don't know who we're gonna play, so we're gonna go to all the potential opponents we could play, and I'm gonna gather all the information. That's not exploiting the rules. That's straight up breaking the rules, and it's breaking what's the word I'm looking for?
Integrity of the game.
There you go, integrity. Thanks. See, that's why we're
Yeah.
co-hosts.
So let me just double back real quick. When we say that it's straight up cheating and there's cheating that's accepted, right? The cheating that's accepted would be like, I'm at the game, I'm on the other sideline, I'm watching not just the players play the game, but I look over across the field and I see a head coach doing something and I can kind of get the idea of what he's doing. That's the accepted cheating. That's the sign stealing that is okay because it's part of the game. It's happening in real time as the game is being played. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whereas this is you cheating to know what the future is bringing before anybody else, at that point, it's not a game anymore. And you think about it, this is supposed to be a sport. Sports was supposed to be about honor, integrity. And this is everything against that, right? Not only did you mess with the integrity of the game, I'll even argue that you kind of messed with players and athletes' careers because of the game. We'll get in more to that on my final thoughts, but I just wanted to bring that up real quick. Let's keep it moving, Mike. So May of 2025, further disciplinary actions. Now, I said the allegations got kind of even crazier and wonkier, right? So what happened is Sharon Moore, who's the new head coach of Michigan, had over 50 text messages exchanges with Stalions, right? And when the investigation was coming, he deleted them all. He deleted all 50 texts and then handed his phone over. Now, at first thought, you're wondering, well, why did you delete them? He claims he deleted them, and this is what's being reported, that he was just so upset that someone from his university would do such a thing and bring this type of spotlight on his team, right? That he just wanted to delete it to get out of his face. I'm sorry, but you were upset. Why weren't you upset when he was sending you the texts in the first place, right? That's something that you got to really ask yourself. And what's even crazier, this orchestrated scheme, Mike, to sign steal wasn't just him recording or sending people recording the opponents, to figure out and decipher their signs and everything. He went as far as dressing up as an opponent coach and snuck his way on the opponent's sideline. He was spotted in a game as the University of Central Michigan's assistant coach, right? Who does that? That's what Stalions did. He went and dressed up as the opponent, right, to steal the calls. I'm sorry. That is effed up. I don't think that's ever been heard of in the history of sports, right? This is worse. This is worse than what and shout out to what's their names? They just had the ban lifted from them in Major League Baseball. God, what's his name?
Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Yeah, shout out to them. Those guys got banned for allegedly gambling and all that stuff, right?
They're both dead. Now they get to go in the hall.
Yeah, it's sad, but I mean, it's true. That's bad. But this is like, oh my God, I've never seen someone do that in the history of sports ever, right? So you have that going on, right? And here's the thing. Going back to Sharon Moore deleting the texts that he had, you hand the phone, they're going to be able to pull that stuff. Just because you delete something on your phone doesn't mean that they can't pull the information.
It's on the server. It's on the server forever.
Yeah. So they went and recovered all the texts that he had, which it does show Stalions and Sharon Moore having conversations about upcoming opponents and what the reports that in the information that was being reported by Stalions showed that in discussions about the sign stealing. So Sharon Moore is just as responsible for this situation as Stalions, as well as several other coaches throughout the University of Michigan. But it doesn't end there. Let's keep moving. So again, just to give you a quick breakdown, Stalions, a former recruiting analyst for Michigan, is accused of orchestrating a scheme to steal opponents' play calling signals. He allegedly purchased tickets to numerous games, dispatched individuals to record sideline signals, violating the NCAA bylaws. Just to give you a quick refresh. What does Michigan do? Now, we're talking about every day since the notice of allegations have been provided to Michigan. Every day, more and more stuff is coming out, right? You recently had the president of the University of Michigan dipping out. This guy was supposed to be like one of the best presidents in in college today. He decided to skip town right before they're about to have this hearing that we'll be talking about shortly. But what does Michigan do right after the president skips down? Michigan has implemented a self-imposed penalty, including coaching suspensions, and continues to cooperate with the NCAA investigation. The university maintains that head coach Jim Harbaugh was unaware of Stallion's actions. As of today, they still maintain that. But what was the self-imposed penalties? They claim they're going to go ahead and suspend Sharon Moore 2 games of their choosing. I'm sorry, but you're the person that orchestrated this action. You're the one that broke the rules. Why are you the one getting to pick the initial penalty, right? And why do you get to pick those? Why are you picking those specific games? It's like week 3 and week 5. It's something like that, Mike, is what they're stating. I'm sorry, but I don't think that's up to you. I think that's up to the NCAA and whoever is in charge of handing down penalties, right? I really think this is their way of trying to say, hey, can we just get hit with time served? Because they know a hammer is coming. What do you think about that?
No, I agree. I think it's asinine that they get to pick the games, first of all. Second of all, I just like it's a little too little too it's too little too late. Um, I think they understand what's coming now, so they're trying to get ahead of it, but I don't think it's going to be possible.
Yeah, and here's the other thing is like all this whole time you've been saying we've done nothing wrong, we've done nothing wrong, you guys are crazy, this is a nothing burger. Everybody in the Michigan media that I follow, they are saying this is a nothing burger, and now all of a sudden you're imposing suspensions on yourself. That tells me you're starting to admit that you're guilty and you know something's
Wrong,
coming.
but I didn't do anything wrong, but maybe I can get out of trouble by acting like I did something wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Um, so what is the NCAA about to do? The NCAA investigation is ongoing. The notice of allegations issued in August of 2024, again, included 11 violations and 6 classified level 1s. The final resolution between the university and the NCAA is still pending. The case is currently before the NCAA's Committee on Infractions, and Michigan and the NCAA are preparing for a hearing where the committee will rule on the allegations. They're set to meet in the first week of June, is what has been reported. I want to say it's around June 6th or 7th, somewhere around there. Personally, this is a long time coming. And I know a lot of people in the community that you and I frequent, Mike, they've told me that, oh, it'll be several years before we find anything out. It'll be a 30-30 episode before, we find exactly what happened and everything. Obviously, when you have this big of an orchestrated event going on, and you've gone through this whole thing of this elaborate scheme to pay people to go and steal, signs and record, other games and everything, right? It's going to take a long time to figure out what's going on, let alone we haven't even talked about some of the other stuff that's going on at University of Michigan. Let's not forget they have a coach that was arrested for hacking into a system that gathers health information for various different athletes around the United States, right? And that information also was used to hack into social media accounts and view pictures that some of them are kind of personal to people, right? That's some weird stuff going on with University of Michigan and some of their former coaches, right? I want to say that coach also was a coach as a Baltimore Raven as well. So some weird stuff going on at University of Michigan. This just happens to be one of their forefront issues that's here, and that's why we're talking about it. So the question asks, should Michigan get the hammer And for how long? And what does that hammer look like?
So, yeah, well, I was just looking it up to make sure. I wonder if this is going to fall under the repeat violator, the thing that was created for SMU. It's called the. Yeah, I just had it. Oh, the repeat violator rule. So if it was going on for 3 years and they found that it was going on for that long, because that's what happened to SMU in 1987, is they got caught paying for players and they had done it multiple times, and so they were a repeat violator. I'm wondering if that's going to factor into the NCAA's decision, but that's just my 2 cents. I was trying to figure out how many level 1 infractions SMU had back then.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know SMU is one of the more recent teams that got hit with the black flag like really bad, to be honest.
Yeah, it's
Um,
1987.
yeah, the more recent teams. I want to say with the University of Michigan, I don't know if this would be considered a repeat offender because it's a certain single issue, but what they
Yeah, but it
have
happened in multiple seasons. That's what
that's
I'm getting at,
okay.
is if it happened over multiple seasons, it's a repeat. I don't know,
Okay. That
maybe we'll see.
Yeah, you're right. And in that aspect, I completely understand. But I'm trying to stay on the signal caller situation.
Yeah,
However, the University of Michigan itself has other issues that they're facing with the NCAA as of right now. One of their biggest issues that they are a repeat offender because it seems like year after year they're getting smacked with penalties that have to do with recruiting, right? They have recruiting violations left, right, and center. And we're not, and I'm not even, and this goes as far as back as Hamburger Gate. Remember the hamburger situation with Jim Harbaugh? You know what I mean? You had that. You had even before then. It seems like year after year, they're getting smacked with these violations. At some point, the NCAA needs to, I'll be frank, they need to kind of grow up here and be like, all right, enough is enough, and really slam the hammer down. Because this is what I kind of personally think. It seems like with all of these violations that they were having recruiting, and even some that just happened within this past year, right?
yeah.
At some point, the NCAA needs to really show force that they actually have a position of power in college football. Right now, how it sits, it's almost as if in college football, there is no leadership, there's no organization that empowers overall. And it's almost like the Wild West. Like it's almost like, let's just do this and see what sticks. You know what I mean? And I kind of feel like the NCAA needs to use Michigan as an example. And I'm not trying to be mean to University of Michigan at all. I'm really not. Um, the reason I think they need to use them as an example is primarily so they can prove to everybody in college that the NCAA works. That's the foundation and organization works as a whole, and the embodied government works. If without them, really college football schools and players can do whatever they want, and I
Well,
think it's bad for the game, and that's why they need that type of structure. Go ahead.
okay, so let me ask you a question. The death penalty is they cancel a whole season. In '87, they canceled SMU's whole season. '88, they couldn't play any home games. And then it lasted all the way to like 1990. They lost like 55 incoming scholarships, all that kind of stuff. So the death penalty is gonna wipe out, we'll say, the 2025-2026 season. Or do you think the NCAA will vacate wins? Because we've seen them in the past vacate wins from LSU. Les Miles, he dropped below, I think, 600 victories because of that. And they vacated wins in the past. Now, do you vacate the title, or do you just vacate the wins? Or do you hand him the death penalty and just wipe out an entire season? Yeah, I think the NCAA is in a tough spot. I do believe, I do agree. They have to do something. It has to be something that puts their foot down, because they've been taken advantage of for the last decade or two. And like even the Reggie Bush and USC thing, like that was, well, they took his Heisman, whoop-de-doo. Like they didn't do anything to the university. They may have stripped him some scholarships, but in this instance, what's worse for Michigan, the death penalty or vacating wins? Because my argument is that if you do vacate wins, you have to vacate the title. And it just goes in the history books. It shows that nobody won a title that year because and you're not going to give it to Washington. You're not going to, because you don't know who they would have lost to or whatever. But I think it's an interesting discussion that NCAA is probably having, is like, what do we do? Do we punish them do we punish them now for sins of the past, or do we go back and we take care of the past and we take away, what if they take away 15 wins, or they take away 5 or 6 of those wins? Then they shouldn't have been in the national championship anyway. So are you still going to credit them with winning? I think it's definitely an interesting discussion that's happening in the NCAA right now.
Yeah, I really think ultimately this is what I foresee. A lot of people think they're not going to take the national championship away. I think that they take wins away, right? I don't know how many, but I would say a handful of the wins away. By default, personally, no matter if they have the title or not, you could arguably say that they're not the true winners of that title, and nobody won that title of that year. I don't care, because the reality is this: if they're found guilty of cheating, and that's all these allegations are true, and the evidence proves that, what would have stopped them from still committing the same crimes against the playoff contenders? What would have stopped them doing it even beyond the time frame they got caught? Now that they got caught, okay, well, let's still do this, but we'll do it differently. You understand what I'm saying?
So you're saying
use them as I'm sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
You need to really double down on a penalty that is going to stick. And when I say stick, it's something you're going to show the entire collegiate sports that no one is above the NCAA and the rules when it comes to the rules. Because if you let Michigan walk away with a slap on the hand, everybody's going to do this, bro. Everybody, and it's going to ruin the game.
But that's what I'm saying. So, but that's my point, though. Does vacating wins really see? I think it's all hearsay at this point. But I think like the way to make them an example that this needs to stop is, I think it needs to happen. You need to vacate, and maybe vacating the title. But see, it's still it hasn't stopped. Like LSU, when they vacated the wins under Les Miles, what did it do to him? Nothing. They vacated wins. Whoop-de-doo. Not a big deal. He lost a few wins on his all-time win record. If they don't punish him, see, I think they have to punish him now, like as far as going forward. In my opinion, the only way to make this an example is you need to take away NIL money. You like ban the NIL money from the team, ban some scholarships, maybe. And I don't know if they would do it nowadays because of the money and the revenue that comes in, but like they're gonna have to, like, I don't think vacating wins is harsh enough punishment personally, because I think that leads into what you're saying, is that other teams are still going to do it. They're just going to find a new way to do it. But if you vacate their wins, vacate their title, take away their scholarships, take away the amount of NIL money they have, and then possibly like cancel some games, and as far as to cancel the season, that's, in my opinion, that's the only way to get this to stop. Because when they did that in '87 to SMU, you didn't hear about players getting paid for a long time, till the late '90s, the Hurricanes maybe, but like it wasn't a thing again. And it really sent a shockwave through the NCAA. And I think that's what needs to happen now, is you got to send a shockwave through the NCAA. And the only way to do that is by, I mean, you've got to, I agree with you. You got to use them as an example, but I think the punishment's got to be way worse than people are speculating, because I just don't think teams are going to be scared. Oh, we might lose a few wins from the season the next year, but we still get the we still go on record as winning the championship. So I just think it's I definitely think it's got to be an extremely harsh punishment. Otherwise, I don't think it stops it.
Yeah, 100%. I think it needs to be an extreme punishment. To to make it stick. And I don't know if vacating wins does that. I will say, I would say probably vacating half the wins for that past season probably will be what it is. National title, give or take, I don't mind, but I do agree you have to include it with taking away scholarships, NIL money, maybe a postseason ban, right?
Yeah,
That
for
would
like a year or two.
that would work also. Um, I just it's really they need to do something, and it needs to be harsh. It really they need to hit the hammer. And it's sad. It's just I feel bad for the athletes, right? The athletes that are already there. The athletes that are now coming
Hey,
to that
didn't
school.
isn't there something going on with the quarterback? Their prized $14 million player too.
That I don't know. There might be recruiting
Hang on.
violations, but I don't know about it.
I gotta look something up about it because I thought he was unhappy. What's his name again? Uh
Underwood. I think
dang,
it's Underwood. Something.
Underwood. Yeah, Bryce Underwood. That's right. Because
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up while you can keep talking, but I'm pretty sure something else is going on.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Everybody that's watching the show, put it in the comments below. Tell me what you think. Do you think they should bring the hammer? Should they vacate wins with a national title? Should they put, maybe a postseason ban or two for a little bit? I'm hearing people from up north tell me, oh, everybody cheats, even Ohio State cheated. I was like, well, how did Ohio State cheat? Well, you guys got banned with the whole tattoo thing. I was like, well, how is that cheating? And and he would tell me, well, I don't know. And I'm like, because it wasn't cheating. We got stuck with a ban because players needed money and they were trading their memorabilia, their jerseys, their shirts, and everything for tattoos. So that's what we got hit with a ban. It's not the same. That does not mess with the integrity of the game. You know what I'm saying? So I'm curious what our audience thinks. Please let me know. Make sure you hit like. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Turn on the notification bells. What'd you find, Mike? What'd you find out?
Um, I guess there's people out there that are doubting that if Underwood's going to reconsider his Michigan decision. This came out a day ago.
They think he's going to or not going to?
No, they think he is. They think that the scouting scandal and everything that's coming may force him to leave Michigan. How crazy would that be? Your $12 million player gone.
Yeah, I mean that is crazy. And in addition to it, how crazy how crazy would it be that actually not really crazy, but let me ask you, in the event that happens, what happens? Like, do they give him a transfer window or something? Do they let players
No,
leave?
he may just have to sit out. He may just, I mean, yeah, you could make an exception, but he may just have to sit out a year.
Yeah, I was gonna say because that's getting kind of close to like training camp time. Teams are already finalizing their rosters and everything. By the time that the penalties are
Yep.
handed down.
Yep.
So damn, that can really stunt. See, and this is what I was talking about. I was gonna talk more about um how this affected certain teams, and we'll get into that right now. We'll talk. That's what we'll finish the show up real quick. So people are asking, well, who are the victims of this? I will argue that everybody in the Big Ten was a victim to this. Penn State was a victim to this. Michigan State was a victim. But who hurt? And Mike, let me get your opinion. Who do you think was the one team that got hurt the most because of this scandal?
Do I have to pick a team or can I give a
Yeah,
different angle?
Your opinion. What team got hurt the most, was more victimized because of this scandal than the others?
It's a different perspective, but I think it's the players on Michigan. Because I think their legacy is now tarnished. they were part of a scandal that they may, some of the players that knew about it, that's one thing. But the players that had no idea what was going on, now they're part of this entire scandal, and they were on a team giving their blood, sweat, and tears for a university that they love and that they chose to go to and everything. And now there's potentially 2 seasons that are tarnished, and they
Mhm.
I feel for the players that were involved on Michigan, because I find it hard to believe the whole team knew about it. But maybe the defensive captain, or maybe somebody on the offense knew about it. But um, I think that's kind of a crappy situation to be in,
Mhm.
to be a part of something, and maybe you were oblivious to it, maybe you had no idea. Now, if it comes out that the whole team knew, then that's different. But I do think that the players that were involved in this that had no idea what was really going on, I think they got hurt the most, because if they do take away these wins, and say they take away a championship or whatever, they didn't do anything wrong. It was the coaches.
Mhm.
The players weren't the ones on the sideline. So I think that I don't know. That's just my opinion. Is I think that sucks the most for the players that were involved. They had no idea what was going on, because they didn't sign up for that. They signed up to play for the University of Michigan, who's a blue blood school. Who, by all accounts, at that point in time, they were a powerhouse. They hadn't lost very much, and with Harbaugh there, they were winning. Um, so that's my opinions. I think the players on Michigan, they had no idea. I think those ones got hurt the most. Now, if I had to pick a different team, I don't know, all the teams that they stole the signs from. I mean, it's the broad spectrum. I mean, who's to say they didn't steal signs from all 15 opponents they played that year?
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely hear you. That's a good point. I do feel bad for the players, but technically I don't, and I'll tell you why. Um, One, how can you not know what's going on in your own team, right? How are coaches telling players, "Hey, this is what the call is going to be. Be prepared." Uh, you know, how do they not know? When you ask, well, how did you know they were going to do that? You know what I mean? Once you ask those questions,
Yeah,
um,
but you don't question your coaches.
that's true too.
Preparation
That's
is part
true.
of it.
But
You
think
don't
about
question
this.
your coaches.
Think
You
about this.
trust them.
I agree. I agree with that. But let's also think about this. I guess in your point, the why we should feel bad for them is they're forever going to be known as the cheaters for the rest
Exactly.
of their lives. That's
Yep.
the stigma that's going to be on Aiden Hutchinson, maybe some of these other players from Michigan, right? Let's also not forget
About to
that.
have a cat and a dog fight. This cat
Uh-oh,
has no claws though. It's got his fur. He's all like, and he's just like, I can't even describe the sound coming out of this cat right now.
that's
My
funny.
dog doesn't know what to do. It's pretty awesome. Sorry,
But what
tangent. But
what I'm getting at is that I don't just feel bad for the players of Michigan. I feel bad for the players that don't play for Michigan. I'll tell you why. Because of what they did, that affected Heisman implications. That affected draft implications for certain players outside of their team, right? And for their team. They have players that got drafted higher than other more deserving players that didn't cheat, that actually played the game straight up, right? You have, you look at guys, and I know I'm touting some players from my own team right now, but I'm just going to give you some examples. You have guys like CJ Stroud, who was going to be could have been a number one overall draft pick, right? That got not implicated, but had effects of losing the game from Michigan because of that, right? He lost money because of it. You look at, you could even had the Heisman Trophy. That there was that. There was also guys like Marvin Harrison that could have went a lot higher, right? Marvin Harrison really wanted to play in that playoff that year, right? And it didn't happen because of the Michigan game. So you messed with people's money. You messed with people's what accolades, if you want to call it. You messed with people's careers. This is bad, bro. This is like really bad, and I don't see why people don't realize that, right?
I agree.
So I know people down here in South Florida that are just like, who cares what happens? Who cares? You're going to care when it affects your team. That's when you're going to care. But until your team, we have a lot of Miami Hurricane fans around here, right? They haven't been in the dance for a while. They haven't been to the playoffs in
Shots fired.
ever, right? Ever really? I don't think they've ever been to the playoffs. So that being said, I kind of feel bad for them because they don't know what they're losing out on. And had they been able to be there, they would understand why this is a big deal. Because imagine this, imagine your team finally gets there, but you can't win that game because of the other team cheating year in and year out, right? How does that affect you as a player? Do I even want to play this game? Those are questions you got to ask.
All I know is Texas went in and whipped that ass the next year. So whatever.
Yeah, well, we'll see. They did go in and beat them. That's true. That is definitely true. Ohio State whooped your ass. What do you got to say now?
Hey. That was a one-play swing, buddy.
One place.
That was bad coaching.
I will
that
say,
was bad coaching. But we're talking about Michigan. I ain't talking about Ohio State. You keep your fandom out of this.
No. I get you. I get you.
Beat this team.
I get you. But real quick, that game, Ohio State versus Texas, was one of the best games in a long time. A very exciting game. Didn't matter who won. It was exciting as hell.
Big noon kickoff.
Stay tuned for the next episode. Stay tuned for the next episode because I have thoughts about Big Noon. We'll talk about that pretty shortly for next week.
We're gonna get to shirtless Bill Belichick. Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Oh boy, yeah. We're gonna talk about shirtless. We're gonna talk about the succubus known as his 24-year-old girlfriend. It's going to be nuts. Make sure you hit the likes button, everybody. Subscribe if you're new. Turn on the notification bell. We appreciate all of you. This is 4th and 10U. Follow us on Twitter. We're going to start posting a lot more like crazy on there. Follow us on Spotify. Me and Mike are going to go crazy. It's going to be fun. It's going to be an exciting season. We appreciate all of you. And, big news. I didn't even tell you this. When we get to 100 subscribers, I'm going to be giving a giveaway. And I will announce what that giveaway is shortly. Stay tuned. With all that, everyone have a good night. And until next time.